Hello, hello. We are live today on Friday, May 5th, 2023. We're a couple minutes late, but we are here for the daily transmission. Please say hello when you arrive. I am just vibrating with intensity today. I don't know about you, but I am truly feeling this Scorpio full moon eclipse. I've got a lot to say, so buckle up. First of all, I want to start by just offering you a mudra and mantra practice, something that has really been helpful for me. Hello, hello, Kara. Welcome. Hello, Nicole. Welcome. And this will be super quick, but I just wanted to offer this to you as an opportunity for you to open your heart today. If you're feeling tired, if you're feeling sluggish, if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I just want to go back to bed, honor that. Eclipses are big energy. Full moons are already times where we're feeling like, ugh, like, can we just go to bed? Can we just take a seat? Can we please just relax? And with this being an eclipse cycle and one that is like the close of an eclipse cycle, I just wanted to offer this to you to help you open your heart and regain some mental clarity. So let's start with that, and then we'll go into more info. Okay, so the mudra that we're going to be using, it's called the Hridaya mudra. You don't need to know that, but just in case you'd like to know that. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our hands and we're going to tuck our first fingers right into like our thumb crease, right? I know it's kind of weird. What we're doing there is we're like cutting off the air right line, and it's essentially cutting off like our mind, right? The mind that just wants to think and have more ideas and just like figure everything out. We're just going to tuck that right in there. Okay, and then we're going to take our thumb. So this is our fire finger, right? The finger that's associated with universal life force. We're tucking in the individual life force. The individual has had enough right now. And then we're going to bring our middle and ring fingers together. That is our grounding, right? The ring, grounding finger. And then the middle finger is Akasha, spirit, what connects us all. And we are going to keep our pinkies firm. Okay, so that is the water. Oh my gosh, it's hard, isn't it? And that is water, because we do want to stimulate an emotional connection, a deep, empathetic emotional connection. Hello, Scorpio full moon. And then we're going to bring those together, right? So we've got our middle finger, ring finger, and thumbs all touching, our pinkies pointed out, and then we've got our middle or our first fingers tucked in. Now you can leave them just like that, right? I'm standing, but ideally you would be seated in a comfortable position, and then you would just rest these on your knees. Okay. So what we want to do is take 3 cleansing breaths to begin. All together, breathe in, hold, and release. Make it really dramatic. Let's do it again. Inhale. And dramatic sigh out. One more time, deep breath in. And hold. Sip in a little bit more. And release. Beautiful. And now we want to use a mantra that is designed to call in our highest self. When we are in our highest self is light, our highest self is love, our highest self is empathy and grace. And it's a good thing for us to be calling in, especially at a moment where we are needing some sensitivity for ourselves, needing some sensitivity for the people around us. We know everyone else is feeling this and feeling very sensitive. So we've got our mudra and the mantra we are using. Now, you are more than welcome to, use this as like a long form mantra. So like say you've got, a mala set, you wanted to do 108 count. Say you wanted to do a timing set and maybe it's like 11 minutes to 31 minutes. All of these are optional. You can also, for the mantra that I'll be giving you in a moment, there are so many videos on YouTube. I'll probably make one at one point. Oh, like this is it, isn't it? Anyway, But there are videos on YouTube that you can look up and follow along with and sing along with if that's your jam. But you can also just take the 3 cleansing breaths and then repeat your mantra or sing your mantra 4 or 3 times to like prepare yourself for meditation or for movement or whatever it is that you'd like to do. But this is an opportunity to open your heart, to activate, revitalize your heart, and to call in your higher self in your interactions with others. So the mantra is Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. And we want to hold the Ong and the Dev. Okay, so it's Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Dev. Om Namo Dev. Namo. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me in that for this Scorpio full moon eclipse. Now let's talk about it. So Scorpio full moon eclipse, we are not yet at the peak. I was actually talking about this with my fiance last night in the car, and he thought it was really interesting to hear about, I said from 11:39 a.m. until 3:29, or isn't it? Yeah, 11:39, 11:29, something like that. I wrote it in my Substack, so you can go check my Substack later if you'd like to do that. But it is, just this one little window that we have the peak of our full moon. Now, yes, the moon is in a full phase, and yes, it takes 30 whole degrees for it to get through the sign. So technically, later today, tomorrow even, we will still have a full moon in Scorpio. But the peak part of this experience is from that little window of time. And just like the same way that it's not your birthday, the whole month of time that the sun is in your sign. I mean, I guess unless you're a Leo, because we all know how Leos are. But if you are, your birthday is not the whole 30 degrees. It's that one day when the sun is right where it was when you were born. And so there's just this one moment of time, especially because the moon moves faster than the sun. And so, the moon is only exactly across from the sun for this window of time. So for those of you who are a little bit more astro nerdy and want to understand that, that's how it works. So this full moon eclipse cycle, or this Scorpio full moon, is the ending of an eclipse cycle that's been going on since November 2021. Now, I've been talking about this like all week, and it only hit me last night as I was writing my Scorpio full moon post for my Substack, just how relevant this is, because I've only really been thinking about this in the context of my yoga practice and how much that has like affected my life and how much I'm bringing that into like every part of my life. I mean, this included because I've got Scorpio ruling my 6th house. The 6th house is the house of day-to-day life, your physical health and wellness, organization, systems, things like that, routines. And so having a physical asana movement practice, doing the things like getting up at 5, going to the studio, journaling, and then showing up for, my asana practice. Those are things that, I've really been focusing on, especially because today, the full moon in Scorpio just happens to be hitting my natal Pluto. And so I've been thinking about all of that. That's really where my mind has been dwelling for the last week or so, as I've been contemplating about the full moon in Scorpio. Not to be forgotten though, what were you doing in November 2021? What were things like for you? Now, I've got the rest of the dates because there have been a series. This is a series, right, of new moons and full moons that have been eclipsing for us back and forth from 2018. Or no, I'm sorry, not 2018. Where am I going with that? How did that come out of my mouth? November 2021 until now. And I've got all of the dates on that post on my Substack. But it only really occurred to me as I was writing this out yesterday that one of my like most major programs, like I've been in business since 2014, but like transparently, not every program is like a hot seller. Not every single thing you do more than once. And there have only been a couple of programs that I've ever even ran more than once. And this particular program was my like big hit. I opened it April 2020 was our first round. And it was immediately huge. I sold, I don't even know, four to six rounds. I really can't remember anymore. It was in a physical form. It was in like a replay format, so we had over 300 students in such a short period of time. It still trips me out. I feel like this has been so long. Let me know, like, does it feel like November 2021 was absolutely like eons ago for you too? Because I just feel like November 2021 was lifetimes ago now. Because at that time I was emailing my students to let them know that I was going to be closing, and not just closing, but archiving that program. People knew that I was already ready to stop selling it, that I just felt like it was no longer in alignment, that I had a lot of reasons, a lot of very firm, like certain reasons that I needed to, and I'm still like, yes, 100% stand by that decision. Great decision. Yes, for y'all too. It does. It feels like it was forever ago. It was not that long ago. So we, November 2021, I was emailing them and telling them like, okay, I'm going to be archiving this program. Like, here are all of the instructions to go download it. How about most people have really moved on from that by now. But this week I got an email from someone, which if you are that someone, I will be replying to you. I honestly forgot about it until just now. The problem with sending me an email sometimes. Anyway, but she was emailing me asking me about this program, which again, I archived at the beginning of 2022, or like February, March 2022. I finally did the whole like deletion of it, and it was huge. And I have just been processing that for a long time. Now, why this is relevant to this whole conversation, and especially to this 6th, 12th house axis where I've been experiencing this eclipse, is that everything that I was teaching in this program, which this program was about human design, it was huge. It was a huge program. I was bringing human design and NLP together and teaching coaches, facilitators, therapists how to use human design as a tool to help them help their clients better. And what I have, really been processing, because I like burned that shit down. I made it very clear that was no longer something that I was entertaining, no longer part of my practice. And I really did, like, truthfully, I like physically threw away all my books. I just removed myself entirely from the space. And there's been so much that's happened since then. I've certified in a dance cardio, like fitness program, which very 6th house energy, just movement of the body, health and vitality of the energy. And then I have been, I started my yoga practice on my own. I'm about to hit 300 classes in less than a year, not to mention my almost 200 hours that I've put into my yoga teacher training. So it's like 500 hours in less than a year in this eclipse window. And everything that I have truly gained from my yoga practice, it's very little to do with my physical body. My physical body, like, great. I'm so glad that I am not constantly in chronic pain anymore. That's a plus. But the bigger reason, like, I will go to yoga in the morning and I will give like 30% if that's all I have to give, right? I will give 100% of the 30% that I have. But really, my bigger reason for going is that it is a mental and emotional cleansing place for me. There are so many reasons, and I've nerded out with you on them plenty in past transmissions, and we will continue to nerd out about all the reasons that yoga, especially the 8-limbed path of yoga, so it's not just movement, right? But there's so many different elements to it. That this has truly saved me and saved me from being such a reactive or repressive person, from just totally disassociating from my physical body, 6th house fucking energy, and being all in the unconscious mind. And that was what NLP, right? Like that was the whole reason I created that program in the first place, that I closed at the start of this eclipse window. That I was trying to help people to recognize their unconscious mind and the patterns that are there, and especially through the conditioning that we see in their human design. But the information only does so much. And I knew that then, and I emphasized that and kept telling people, but transparently, like when I really think back on it, I was not walking the walk the way that I really should have. Not in the way, like I was just intellectualizing so much of my processing, right? I was intellectualizing my feelings, intellectualizing, and just the thing that I really disliked about it was how much it made me second guess myself, and how much it made me feel limited, and how much it made me feel like, okay, like, was that a sacral, like, am I in a high? Am I in a low? What does that mean? And it was just like so exhausting, just always being in my fucking head. And of course, that's just not the point. That was never the point. Now, that's not to even go into any of the other like reasons, especially like the bigger, more like ethical reasons that I got away from human design for so long. But suffice to say, like what I realized as I've been contemplating this is that I've learned what it means to be an emotional authority. With the undefined head and ajna removed from human design through my yoga practice over the last year and a half. Like over these last 18 months, I've processed that, oh, I'm not going to be able to think my way out of this. I'm going to have to actually feel into this. I need to do something so that I can have peace in this moment and not always be chasing after a goal or whatever, or fixing something from the past. Both of those things have me never in the present. You can have goals and you can work on your past self without losing your peace and presence in this moment. And that is what I have learned from this fucking eclipse cycle. So it has been a journey, friends, a real journey. The fact that I've been doing human design readings this week is literally something I never thought I would say again. Never say never, my friends, never say never. And I did say that back then. Is I'm not going to say I'm never going to pick this up again, but probably not. I just didn't anticipate it being so quick. That's for sure. But it's so freeing, and I feel like I'm able to give people so much more even with human design now, because I was already, I hate, right? This, call it, let's blame it on the defined will, huh? Let's blame it on it. I was already better at human design than other people in the field, and who'd been out there like publicly, like bigger, longer. People would tell me like, I took so-and-so's class who's got 200, 300, 500,000 followers, and that was trash, and I would take yours again and again and again. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that. We don't need to compare us, but I understand, because I don't just, oh, here's the basic information. Like we go into processing it and using it to move forward and do something different. But now, not that I had that elevated way of seeing human design because one of the components is astrology. So when you tell me, you know, when we're looking at your Venus placement, like we were doing with one of my clients yesterday, and we're talking about it, and we're talking about the gate, and we're talking about how that works in your gene key sequence, because I know the gene keys as well. And then we go and we look at your astrological chart and we see, oh, your Venus is in the 12th house. So of course, this is something that you have repressed for a really long time. It gives you more of a complete perspective of the picture. I say that, you know, the human design is like your character profile in the video game that we're living in, and your birth chart is the story. Who are you and what is the story? And so now having this like next layer of depth of understanding with the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, studying at length, not just in a very like basic understanding, you know, like anybody has in a spiritual, like in the spiritual community, if you don't know like what the chakras are, like you probably haven't been there long enough, you know? And so I had like basic awareness and understanding of that before, but now I have like a much richer and deeper understanding of that, and especially how it, the differentiation and the mutations. And I can't wait to talk more about Pluto again. You know, we've got Pluto in retrograde now. Pluto will be moving back into Capricorn shortly. There's just so much to talk about. And you know, it's like now I feel like I have so much more understanding, and not just intellectual understanding, but just like a very rich understanding of how the system can help you, can help me help you, you know, just the same way that I don't encourage anybody, like if you have an inkling or a desire to explore astrology or to learn astrology, that's awesome. But if you know, are trying to learn astrology and it's like very reminiscent of you trying to learn like trigonometry and you're like beating your head against the wall and you're like, oh my God, this fucking, it's not like, does not compute, it's not making sense. Stop trying to learn a language that is not like making sense to you when there are translators all over the world. Hi, I'm one of them, who can help make sense of it for you. Not everybody has to be an expert in everything. You don't have to like learn everything for you to understand yourself. And I have told people over and over, I usually open my sessions like this. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. There's nothing in your chart that I can see that you don't already know. Well, I don't know. I'll take that back a little bit, because sometimes I mentioned this in a client session yesterday. Sometimes you look at your birth chart and you're like, this doesn't really make sense. Or someone says something about, you know, a placement, and it might not make sense yet, because it's like trying to understand what's happening in chapter 50 when you're still in chapter 34. Like, we need more context. So with that exception of, you know, the situation, you know, if we're reading it like that, but if we're just talking about you and your energy and your common struggles and your strengths and the way people respond to you and the kind of energy that you typically attract, I'm going to tell you all of that by looking at your chart, but you already know that about yourself. And so what we have is just that piece of like, wow, I'm not crazy. Wow, this really is happening. What can I do to make this a better experience? How can I improve this experience so that I am the best version of me and able to give the best version of me to the people around me and to my community at large? How do I want to be known? How do I want to be spoken about in rooms that I'm not in? That's really what my aim is to help you to feel more confident, and to feel better about just existing. Being a human is hard, y'all. So yeah, in summary, what have you learned? I have more on my Substack, and if you're a paid subscriber, I do have like a jumping off point for you to consider for some journaling this midday, for those of us here on the East Coast anyway. And I also want you to think about this in terms of maybe a little bit of preparation, because we have this close, this culmination. So we're about to birth something, but we're also releasing what is no longer serving. The symbology of the moon, right? And the lunar cycle is like pregnancy. And so when we've reached the full moon, we've reached our like peak pregnancy, like we're about to give birth. And what do you do before you're about to give birth? If anybody else has had children, you nest, right? You rest and nest. You clean the house, you prepare for baby, you prepare for what is necessary, you mentally prepare, you emotionally prepare, you physically prepare, and you make space, because we don't have room for something that we're going to create to come in if we have still a bunch of trash in the way. Okay. So that is the idea for the weekend. And what's really great about that is that we have Venus moving into Cancer on Sunday. So if this feels like a very emotionally tender time, if you're feeling very vulnerable right now, Venus moving into Cancer, ideally, hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to be experiencing a lot more empathy for ourselves, for each other. This is a placement that really calls for self-care, nurturing, taking care of yourself on a deep emotional level, creating space for you to feel like there is a safe, secure place for you to fully express your feelings, let people know how you feel, and grow your emotional intelligence. And then in a couple of weeks, we have Jupiter moving into Taurus. And so I think that's just so auspicious with this, 18-month eclipse cycle ending, with it being in Scorpio and Taurus, because it's really all about what it is that we think we have to hide, or that we have to like put away, or like whether that's desires that we have, or experiences that we have, or shame that we're holding on to. Oh my God, that much more with my fucking story. I swear, y'all. Because the shame and the feelings that have been processed, and the anger and the feelings. Oh my goodness. I'll probably continue to talk about it, continue to share. But yeah, I definitely have more to say, but not right now. So Jupiter entering Taurus in a couple of weeks, we are here to acknowledge that we do require and deserve to be well cared for, and that's going to require a certain level of materialism. You wanting nice things, you wanting a nice life, you wanting more than just enough is not you being selfish. That is you claiming ease. That is you claiming abundance, right? Prosperity. The thing that you need to keep in mind is that wealth, right? Riches or whatever, is not necessarily a prosperous life. So many people trade, all of their time, all of their energy. I see so many people who are, business owners or entrepreneurs, whatever, and whether they're solo, whether they have team, doesn't matter. There are people who will just continue adding on more and more and more to their own plate. And it's like, okay, we've reached this level, and now what? We've reached this level, and now what? We've reached this level, and now what? And it's all about the material. And you're still like no more free than you were when you started. Not really, because you've got just higher expenses, and you still have no time, no energy. So it's like, let's not do that. That's not the point. That's not what I'm saying to you when I'm saying like tap into the frequency of abundance, tap into the frequency of prosperity. I need you to go inside, right? Use the mudra and the mantra that I shared with you, and ask yourself, what does a prosperous life really look like for me? For me, not for you or you or you or you or you, and not judging what other people's definition of prosperity is, because it's not our business. Not really. For me, a prosperous life looks like having more than enough, getting to be generous as I want to be at any given time, getting to take time off with my daughter, getting to take time off with my fiance. These are all things that tell me that I am in the energy of abundance and prosperity. Note that I'm not talking about any like specific material thing. That's not necessarily important to me. It may be important to you. That's not for either of us to have opinions about. It is what it is. So that is where I will leave you today, fam. Thank you so much for being here with me. This was maybe my favorite transmission ever. I will be back to talk to you more on Monday. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. Take it easy with yourself, especially today. Okay. We want to make sure any feelings that we are experiencing, that you're taking the time to process them without necessarily reacting to them. Repressing them and bypassing them, it's not going to help. But reacting to them, making decisions when we're in these heightened states, peaks and valleys, it's not the time. Not the time. And make sure that you're encouraging your friends and family to do the same. So that's it for today. I'll see you on Monday. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Love you so much.